Since the end of World War II, the United States led the Western Alliance, shaping global politics, defending democracy, and maintaining economic stability. But today, something is shifting. America's closest allies, Canada, Mexico, Ukraine, and even Europe, are starting to wonder, can they still rely on the U.S.? This isn't just about one presidency or a few political disputes. If the Western Alliance fractures, the entire global balance of power could shift permanently. For nearly a century, the Western world has followed a familiar script. The United States at the center, its allies orbiting around it. The wars it fought, the trade deals it brokered, the institutions it built, all reinforced a simple truth. American leadership wasn't just expected, it was the foundation of global influence. Now take America out of the equation and think, what would the world look like? The world order as we know it would change, and it is happening now. The Western Alliance has always had its share of tensions, but recent years have seen those tensions escalate into something more profound. One of the most striking examples is the recent UN resolution on Ukraine, where the United States unexpectedly aligned itself with Russia and North Korea. This decision stunned many of its allies and raised serious questions about Washington's long-term commitments. While some argue this is just a strategic shift, others fear it signals a deeper realignment in U.S. foreign policy. Meanwhile, long-standing institutions like NATO and the G7, once symbols of Western unity, now struggle with internal divisions. For many of America's closest allies, this isn't just about diplomacy. This is about survival. As uncertainty looms over Washington's commitments, its allies are taking matters into their own hands. In Europe, leaders are pushing for strategic autonomy, preparing for a future where they can no longer rely on U.S. military support. The idea of a European army, once dismissed as unrealistic, is now gaining momentum. Germany and France have taken the lead, advocating for joint defense projects that could mobilize hundreds of billions of euros. At the same time, the European Investment Bank is expected to double or even triple its defense spending by 2025, reflecting a shift towards self-reliance. In Ukraine, the situation is even more dire. After years of receiving billions in U.S. military aid, recent policy changes have left Kyiv in an uncertain position. With Washington's stance shifting, Ukrainian officials are looking to Europe for stronger support. But can the EU step up in time? Beyond Europe, Canada and Mexico have also been feeling the effects of an unpredictable U.S. trade policy. Agreements once seen as cornerstones of economic stability have been repeatedly challenged or renegotiated. Canada, in particular, has started strengthening ties with European and Indo-Pacific partners, reducing its economic dependence on the U.S. The message is clear. America's allies are not waiting around to see what happens next. They are actively preparing for a world where Washington's influence is no longer guaranteed. With the West divided, other global players are stepping in to fill the vacuum. China has been quietly expanding its influence for years, but now it's becoming more assertive. The Belt and Road Initiative is drawing countries across Asia, Africa, and even parts of Europe into Beijing's economic orbit. China is also working to reduce global reliance on the U.S. dollar, promoting the yuan in international trade and forging economic partnerships that bypass Western financial institutions. Then there's BRICS, the economic bloc of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Once seen as an alternative to Western-dominated institutions like the IMF and World Bank, BRICS is now growing in strength. More countries are starting to join, drawn by the promise of a multipolar world where power isn't concentrated in Washington and Brussels. The dominance of the dollar-based global economy is also facing new challenges. With increasing concerns over U.S. monetary policies, many nations are exploring alternatives, whether through regional currencies, digital finance, or barter agreements. There are whispers of the dollar fading, but only time will reveal its fate. We are entering uncharted waters. The coming years could take us down very different paths. One possibility is that the U.S. rebuilds its alliances, recognizing the need to restore trust and reassert its leadership on the world stage. This would mean reinvesting in NATO, strengthening diplomatic ties, and committing to a stable global order. But there's another possibility. The fractures deepen, and the West as we know it continues to weaken. In this scenario, Europe takes full control of its security, China solidifies its dominance, and the U.S. becomes just another power among many. The shift to a multipolar world would be complete. No matter which path we take, one thing is certain. The world is no longer waiting for the U.S. to decide. The balance of power is already shifting. The only question is how far it will go. Is this the inevitable decline of the West? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more insights.